Hello everyone, welcome to this session, Pharmacovigilance GVP Audit Support. This presentation is mainly intended for the marketing authorization holders, sponsors and CROs who are either preparing for internal audits or for regulatory inspections. Our focus is mainly on the practical aspects, that is the execution, gap identification and remediation support for the US, EU and the UK. I have also included some tips and strategy on how to prepare and attend the audits and do's and don'ts during the audits. Before I start with this session, uh, I am Dr. Sripad Raj and I am the founder and CEO of Global Placo Solutions. With overall 18 years of experience in PV, QA and regulatory, I have performed more than 200 plus GVP audits including CSV as a lead auditor for most of the audits and performed for MAHs and sponsors and CROs. The MAH partners include the affiliates, license partners, importers, distributors. I have supported more than 30 plus clients, mainly for the US and the EU, ensured US FDA, EMA and MHRA inspection readiness, and the end outcome or the final result was zero critical findings in most of the regulatory inspections. Coming to who we support, mainly we are working with the marketing authorization holders, sponsors for the US FDA, pharma and biotech companies, global affiliates, license partners, importers or distributors, companies which use the services PV vendors and CROs, mainly the translation providers or literature search, small activities which they provide, and also the technology partners, that is the database hosting providers or technology providers, platform and software or tool providers. So these are technology partners where they support with the IT or technology infrastructure. We work with different sizes of companies, small, medium, large companies, and provide structured pharmacovigilance audit support based on the requirement. This includes internal audits, affiliate reviews, as well as vendor oversight assessments. Coming to the regulatory framework, every auditor and the companies, that is MAH, sponsors and CROs, must be aware of the pharmacovigilance regulatory guidelines or regulations or EU directives. For EU, we have EU GVP Module IV that deals with the pharmacovigilance audits, how it is conducted. For US, you also have 21 CFR 314.80 and 600.80. FDA, BIMO and pharmacovigilance inspections, risk-based quality management. For those of you who don't know what is FDA BIMO, that is FDA's Bioresearch Monitoring Program, which is a comprehensive program for on-site inspections, data audits and remote regulatory assessments designed to monitor all aspects of the conduct and reporting of mainly the FDA regulated research. This is for the leaders, pharmacovigilance leaders. Most of the pharmacovigilance leaders or the decision makers, they approach the companies with certain pain points. These are commonly the global PV QMS implementation, issues with the agreements, that is SDEA or safety management plan or contracts, work orders and scope of work, issues or challenges with the ICSR reporting timelines and late cases, literature process gaps, periodic or aggregate reporting, mainly benefit risk evaluations. Again, common pain points are signal detection, signal management and risk management plans or REMs, vendor oversight gaps, PSMF not inspection ready, and repeated audit findings or ineffective CAPAs and effectiveness checks. So many MAH and CROs and sponsors, they have this common pain point and struggle with the regulatory expectations and also limited internal resources and complex vendor models. Different vendors have different models on the way they operate and the service deliverables. Our audits focus on identifying these gaps very early and providing clear remediation pathways. So there is no one size fits all formula where you have a checklist and you implement everywhere. So depending on the size of the organization, therapeutic areas they are working, the location, regional, product, markets, territories, and also the type of databases and the activities, PV activities conducted, the plans will be different, the QMS will be different, agreements will be completely different, and the processes and procedures will be based on the type of activity, the type of contract, and the resources available. Let us understand the GVP audit life cycle. So many of them don't know that the audit happens in different stages. The initial stage is the preparation, then execution, then reporting, CAPAs and monitoring. And continuous inspection readiness model is implemented by the organizations where each and every time the audit is conducted, there will be a lot of improvements, process improvements, identification of gaps. Accordingly, the CAPAs or corrective action, preventive action will be implemented and the changes will be made in the PUQMS or the processes or procedures or refinement of the processes. Many times during the interviews, if you are a quality assurance professional or a professional auditor, this question is usually asked: what are the types of audits? As per the GVP Module 4, they have classified into strategic, tactical, and operational audits. There are also other terms which we use: full PV system audit or process audit, vendor or CRO audit, local affiliate or local entity audit, lastly, for cause audit. So depending on the type of requirement, depending on your organization, depending on what is your audit plan and how do you want to conduct, you can schedule the audits or plan the audits based on the type of PV activities conducted. And also if you have engaged with vendors, a vendor audit might be conducted. If you are an MAH, you will have the PV ecosystem with the affiliates, license partners, distributors, importers, and vendors if you have outsourced any of the activities. For cause means if there is any issue identified, for example, if you have missed many of the cases, ICSR cases, or if you have missed the timelines for reporting of aggregate reports or periodic reports, if you have missed identification of signals or there are any vendor related issues. So for cause audit is conducted to investigate what are the process or procedures in place and how we can get rid of it or identify and implement certain corrective action and preventive action in place so that it does not get repeated and it does not become a big challenge or issue in terms of inspection readiness. One of the most important questions during the client calls or interviews is: what are these risk based assessment audits, RBA? So there are various types of risks. We have regulatory risk, operational, product and portfolio, therapeutic risk, partner and vendor risk, technology, data integrity, and governance risk. All these risks are identified at a very early stage. To explain you with an example, regulatory risk deals with the regulations. If the regulations are constantly changing, if the regulatory timelines are met or it is not possible, and operational deals with how many people or resources, how the operations are actually implemented and executed. Do you have the complete plan on delivering within the timelines? Product and portfolio risk, if you are working with certain therapeutic areas which are high risk, mainly the oncology and certain rare diseases, so it might be a product or portfolio risk. Therapeutic area risk is again if you're working with certain therapeutic areas where you don't have the clear idea on what would be the requirements for certain therapeutic areas, cardiology or oncology or gastroenterology. So these are coming under the therapeutic area risk. Coming to partner or vendor risk, you always have the challenges with partners or vendors, whether they are properly qualified, trained, whether they will be able to deliver within the timelines, and whether it is a risk for us, for the client or MAH or sponsors. This should be assessed. And also we have technology or system risk, where the technology partners, for example, if you are using any technology partner like third party tools, whether automation is happening, whether the ICSR is getting transmitted within the timelines, whether there are any issues, that literature tool is identifying all the literature articles. So this comes under technology or system risk. Coming to data integrity, as per the GVP GDPR rules regulations, whether all the data is secured and audit trails are in place, controls, change controls, everything is in place. And also finally the governance risk, where how the governance is happening within your organization. Maybe it is the quality management system, safety governance, anything related to the governance. The risk must be assessed at a very early stage and you have to plan the audits accordingly. So what is the approach? How are the audits conducted? So our approach, that is Global Placo Solutions approach, or it is mostly the standard practice. Our approach follows a clear life cycle, that is preparation, structured execution, transparent reporting, and practical remediation support. All these activities are aligned with our methodology with US FDA, EMA, and MHRA GVP expectations. So what is this pre-audit preparation? So before the audit is conducted or it is planned, there is a 3 weeks notice, or depending on the type of agreement, you will have 4 weeks or 3 weeks notice, which is sent to your partner or vendor or wherever the audit is planned to be conducted. First is we define the scope after conducting the risk-based assessment, what we want to look at. For example, we want to look at only PSMF, so it will be a process audit which will be related to only PSMF. If it is a full system audit, it will include all the PV activities which is conducted, starting from the PVQMS till ICSRs, literature, aggregate reporting, signal detection and management, risk management plan, PSMF, and any other areas if it is literature identified during full PV system audit. We begin with the scope definition and what are the applicable rules and regulations. Then we provide them with, based on the agreement or the activities, we provide them with the initial document request list. So based on the type of audit, you request the documents for review, and then there will be a regulatory mapping, that is the applicable regulatory guidelines, whether it is for the US FDA or for the EU. So based on the applicable regulations, the GVP audit will be conducted. Many a times the follow-up question is asked, what are the documents? Usually the clients ask the same question, what documents would you require and how do we prepare, or what documents must be kept ready. So during the pre-audit document request, a comprehensive request will be provided or requested with the auditee, where list of all the SOPs or procedures or work instructions, forms and trackers are requested. If it is the EU audit, GVP audit, PSMF and annexes will be requested. A safety data exchange agreement, or if it is a CRO, we will request for the contracts or scope of work. The job description, CVs and training metrics or plan will also be requested, just to see how trained resources you have and what is your training plan. If it is a process related audit, depending on the type of activity, ICSR, literature, aggregate reporting, signal detection, all these process related documents will be requested. And sample reports of DSUR or PBRER and submission evidence in the initial stages will be requested, so that they are prepared to show during the audit. If it is a third party or a vendor, we will also request for vendor qualification or third party management documentation, and how they have the oversight of the vendors, and also the CAPA tracker and effectiveness checks if they are old organization, and if they have conducted audits previously, they would be maintaining a CAPA tracker and also the effectiveness checks. These all are very common document requests. This is not the this is a very short list. The list will be exhaustive with at least 30 to 25 to 30 documents with detailed request of what is required before the review, so that the auditor reviews these documents before the audit, and then during the audit questions will be asked based on this documents review. Let's go to the step 2, that is audit execution. Audit execution is the audit where it is performed. It can be on-site or remote audit. This will include the introduction of the members of the audit, which is called auditees, and also the auditor's introduction, along with overview of what will be seen in the agenda and in the scope. And also the auditee can take us through their processes and procedures with a presentation, initial presentation, where what and all will be covered in the agenda in the upcoming sessions, and they can also provide the overview of departments, functions, verticals, and also who are responsible for which department, and so that you can direct the questions to the concerned team or the functional head. Audit execution will also include role-based interviews, where the auditor will ask certain questions. It might be operational, technical, or generalized questions, where how do you manage certain processes, or how ICSR is collected. Certain questions which are mainly topic based questions, and interview questions will be asked depending on the role. And during the audit, review of documents and evidences or proofs will also be requested, along with if there are any additional documents which we need to review, that also will be included as a audit document request. At the end of the audit, the closeout meeting or closing presentation, which is also called a wrap up, will be also presented by the auditors, which will have the overall observations, which will be next converted to findings, and the conclusion of the audit, what are all the observations and how many, and what will be expected after this audit. The final stage, that is the step 3, is the reporting, where The reporting, audit report or reporting happens to the concerned departments where we have identified the observations. Those observations are called gaps or lacunae, or you can say it as deficiencies. So these are classified into three categories, that is critical, major and minor. And wherever required, we will also provide with some kind of recommendations or suggestions which are not under these three classification, but it is the advice or suggestion from the auditor that you can include this as a recommendation. The definitions for critical, major and minor, you can find it in the GVP Module 4. So to keep the length of the video short, I have just mentioned about these three classification. You can definitely go and find out what is the definition. What are the definitions for these three? Once the audit report is completed, it will be distributed to the concerned departments or the person of interest who is responsible for findings or observations. So depending on the process and procedures within your organization, the CAPA, that is corrective action, preventive action, should start, and there will be some timelines for critical, major and minor, and also requirements for effectiveness. And if there are any follow-ups required after the effectiveness, if there are any changes, that also need to be included. So we, Global Placo Solutions, we support MAH sponsors and CROs in drafting CAPAs, aligning with realistic timelines and conducting effectiveness checks to ensure sustainable compliance and process improvements. And also this CAPA should be professionally written using RCAs and CAPAs, using certain tools. This should be addressed in a professional way so that there is no to and fro communication, and full clarity on what is expected and what is delivered should be mentioned in the CAPAs. So this is for the clients who are looking for audit support. Uh, for the regulatory focus, for US FDA, mainly US FDA focuses on 15 days reporting timelines, data integrity and database reconciliation. The EU inspectors and the auditors mainly focus on PSMF, QMS and QPPV oversight, as well as the signal management governance. FDA usually focuses heavily on the expedited reporting compliance. They are mainly looking at reconciliations, periodic adverse event reporting, PADERs, and EU emphasizes more on the pharmacovigilance system master file completeness and QPPV oversight. This is just a generalized idea, and it depends on the inspectors what they want to look at. Depending on their qualification, experience and expertise, they may look at different things, but this is based on my personal experience attending the inspections. They were mostly focusing on the above mentioned, which I have already discussed. The clients, once the audit is conducted, the audit report will be a comprehensive audit report with all the gaps identified, and if there are any risks, it will be summarized in a table, and also how the corrective action and preventive action must be written and a template for tracking, along with executive summary, just to give an idea or overview of the report. The clients will receive a structured audit report from Global Placo Solutions, along with this risk summaries and practical tracking tools to manage the remediation activities. Now most of you will have the questions, or the clients will have, what are the common findings and how do we address it, and what will the audit report contain. So for better understanding, I have classified the common findings into critical activities of PV and other common findings. The findings are mainly related to ICSRs, literature, aggregate reporting, signal management, risk management plans, variations, health authority requests, and BCP, that is business continuity plan. These are these comes under the critical activities of pharmacovigilance, which is laid out as per GVP Module 1. The other common findings or areas of interest is mainly you will get findings or observations from QMS, that is quality management system, regulatory compliance, vendor oversight or affiliate oversight, safety database management, and inspection readiness. So the findings are not common for all. It depends on the type of organization, size, complexity, and what kind of operations you are running. At the same time, what are the service level agreements, deliverables which are expected. So depending on the type of operational structure and regulatory requirements, the findings are expected. So our main intention is to cover all the areas, whether it is critical or other areas of interest for presentation purpose. These are some tips for successful audits. We have reached the end of the session, and I hope that it was informative. And in case if you have any requirements related to GVP audit services for MAHs, sponsors and CROs, we will do a thorough and detailed audits and we will send you the report. At the same time, if you are looking for qualifying any vendors for outsourcing of PV activities, we also perform due diligence activity to assess the suitability of vendor in terms of capability, capacity, and the expertise as per the requirements and deliverables expected. So I would like to thank you all for watching this video, and please forward this to your friends and colleagues and also clients who are looking for GVP audit services. Thank you.